Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something that, well, it might sound a bit niche at first, the SAVIGA-C01 exam, but it's actually a really fascinating way to look into the complex and pretty critical world of identity governance and administration. Our mission today isn't really about test prep. It's more about digging out the key insights, those aha moments from the source material we looked at, helping you really grasp the powerful concepts that kind of make this whole digital world work.
And that's exactly right. I mean, understanding these fundamentals, it's not just academic anymore, is it? It's absolutely critical in, well, today's whole interconnected digital setup. Just think about the daily challenge for organizations, managing who gets access to what, making sure that access is secure, and crucially, staying compliant with all the regulations that keep changing. That's really the backbone of modern security and efficiency too. So yeah, this deep dive, it should give you some real insights into core stuff like access management, system integration, vital things.
Exactly. And just for context, yeah, the SAVIGA-C01 exam itself, it's web-based, online proctored-and-use examity. It's 2 hours, 70 questions. Passing score is 350 out of 500, so 70%. But like we said, we're going way beyond just the mechanics of the test here. We really want to uncover the strategic importance, maybe some common challenges tied to these ideas. So yeah, let's unpack this. Let's dive into some of the most interesting nuggets we found, kind of framed around the principles behind the questions. All right, so let's start with something really central to managing identity over time. Once someone has access, the tricky part begins, right? Keeping it secure, appropriate, ongoing. So what's the core mechanism, the Saviynt module, that's really designed for making sure people still have the right access and, importantly, only the right access through those periodic reviews?
Okay, yeah, this takes us straight to campaigns. And what's really, I think, remarkable about campaigns is how they tackle that critical problem. Access creep, you know? It's just not enough to give access once and then sort of forget about it. Organizations, they need a structured way, often automated ideally, to periodically review and, well, double check that users only have the permissions they actually need for their job right now. But, connecting this to the bigger picture, the real challenge isn't just having campaigns, it's designing them effectively. Because what often happens is organizations get hit with review fatigue, or it becomes this checkbox compliance exercise where reviewers just click approve, approve, approve to clear their queue.
Right. So they're technically doing the audit, but not really doing it.
Exactly. And that leaves these gaping security holes because the system looks clean on paper. But the reality is quite different. Access hasn't really been verified.
So it's about genuine prevention of that access creep, not just ticking a box.
Makes total sense. Okay, let's shift gears a little. We talked about maintaining access. But how do new requests actually get provisioned, tracked, especially when you've got multiple, maybe separate systems involved?
Yeah.
This leads us to the role of something like a service desk application. What's its purpose exactly in a system like Saviynt?
Right. The service desk application, the Saviynt, it acts as this essential bridge. Its main job is creating and managing tickets for provisioning, but specifically in external IT service management systems, your ITSMs, like ServiceNow or Remedy. What people sometimes overlook is that it's not just about firing off a ticket. It's about making sure there's a seamless automated workflow for those access requests that might start outside Saviynt, or maybe they just need to be tracked in that main ITSM system for other reasons. I mean, imagine the chaos if every single access request had to be manually rekeyed or approved across different teams, different tools.
Yeah, nightmare. Right. So this integration, it gives you a consistent audit trail. It streamlines the whole access lifecycle, which is huge for compliance, huge for efficiency. But getting it set up smoothly across complex company environments, it's rarely simple.
Yeah, I can imagine that integration piece is tricky. Sounds like a massive efficiency win when it works, though. The difference between like a new hire getting their logins on day one versus waiting days. Okay, now this next concept, it definitely raises a big security red flag for me. We've been talking about controlled, automated access, but what happens when access isn't granted through those nice approved channels? What exactly is out-of-band access, and why is it such a critical concern?
Yeah, this really gets to the heart of control versus risk, doesn't it? Out-of-band access, or OOB, it's essentially a bypass. Simple as that. It's when someone gets access manually, completely outside the standard governed request and approval processes that your identity system, like Saviynt, provides. And the really dangerous part here, OB access creates this huge blind spot. Because it sidesteps all the established governance controls, it's almost never audited with the same rigor as the automated stuff. if at all.
Right, it's off the books, essentially.
Exactly. So attackers, they can exploit these manual exceptions to get persistent access. They can lurk undetected inside systems. It makes it a really critical threat for organizations to find and shut down. It's kind of like someone getting a master key to the building directly from a friendly security guard instead of going through HR and getting the proper logged approved key card.
You know, that reminds me of those old office stories, like someone still has the key to the server room years after they left the company because someone just handed it to them way back when. That kind of out-of-band stuff must be a nightmare to track down later.
Absolutely.
Definitely something you'd want to detect and reconcile immediately if you could. Okay, let's zoom in a bit more now. When we talk about access in these systems, it often sounds quite broad, but what's the actual fundamental building block of permission within an application? This next concept, entitlement, seems to really define that granularity.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is how precise the definition is. And entitlement isn't just any permission. It's a specific granular permission or privilege inside an application. So this could be anything from, say, read access on a specific document or write access to a particular database table, or maybe the ability to execute a certain function within some software. Understanding entitlements is just foundational. It's because they define exactly what actions a user can perform on a resource. The flip side, though, if you don't manage them carefully, organizations can quickly run into entitlement sprawl.
Entitlement sprawl, yeah, where the sheer number of these specific permissions just becomes completely overwhelming, and it makes it incredibly difficult to actually tell who can do what anymore, which, again, creates more blind spots, increases risk. It's the difference between having a key to the whole building versus having the specific key to the one file cabinet you actually need.
That's a really good distinction. It's all about that precision, isn't it? Getting it just right. Okay, finally, let's talk about the very first step in securing any access. Confirming who someone actually is. I mean, none of this access management stuff matters if you can't even reliably verify the user's identity at the front door, so to speak. So what are some of the maybe foundational, widely supported authentication mechanisms that systems like Saviynt rely on?
Right, and this just highlights how critical robust authentication really is. Saviynt, like most enterprise systems these days, supports a whole variety of mechanisms to validate who a user is. Two really prominent ones you see a lot are SAML 2.0 and LDAP. SAML 2.0, that's a standard protocol, very commonly used for single sign-on, SSO. It lets users log in once and then access multiple different systems without having to type their password again and again. It's particularly powerful in what they call federated environments, where identities might need to span across different organizations or cloud services.
Okay, so SAML for SSO, often across different systems.
Exactly. Then you have LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. That's a very widely used protocol for accessing and maintaining directory information services. Think like Active Directory. It's often used for authenticating users against an organization's internal user directory. Both are pretty essential for secure authentication integration in, complex company environments. They let users prove who they are reliably.
And deciding which one to use, or maybe how to use both.
Well, that often depends on the organization's existing infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. And whether they need more internal versus cloud-based identity checks.
Okay, right. Got it. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the truly fascinating world of identity governance and access management. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.